So thanks all. So the topic that we would be starting today is idocs. As Mahesh referred, that people are actually scared of idocs. But actually thinking of idoc, I'll give an analogy based on to which you will be very easily adaptable what and idocs are. It is not a very super bomb like CPI or any of the other big things that SAP is doing. iDocs is something which needs to be understood, and it's a simple communication channel. So, just letting you know what IDOC as an acronym means, it's an intermediate document. What intermediate document does that mean is, it's okay, right? So intermediate document means that there are two people who want to have a conversation between themselves, and they want to post some document, post some data into SAP, or they might be you want to send some data out of SAP to any of the either SAP system or any of the non-SAP system. Then you need to just use the iDocs to send that data so that can be taken up easily, that can be interpreted easily. So what I can give you an analogy for IDOC is nothing but it's kind of a letter. It has a sender, it has a receiver. Sender and receiver both can either be SAP system or one of them can be a non-SAP system. What it helps us is that it knows that in this letter, these will be the things that will be defined. And with this, you can easily understand what this document is all about. That is majorly IDOC. IDOC can be done between two SAP system. It can be done between a SAP and a non-SAP system as well. That helps us transporting the data. Now we have new technologies like OData and everything, but still many places iDocs are prominent. Even in banks, iDocs are prominent. We did a go live last year itself in Amazon with Nithya. Nithya, it was last year or last to last year. It was with Amazon, HSBC Saudi. So in that also we used iDocs by host to host transfer. I hope what is iDoc is very much clear to you guys. There's a small question which you should ask me when we are doing with why iDocs. This is a very genuine question. SAP provides RFC to be called by other systems. We all know that as an ABAPer that you can talk to a non-SAP system or another SAP system using RFCs. Then why do we need iDocs? What is the requirement of having iDocs? Over here comes the beauty of iDoc. When you are sending any or you are taking up any RFC for putting up some data or grasping a data from another system, over there you will understand that you are not saving that data. You don't know whether it has resulted in a successful implementation, successful take up, or it has not been successful. Suppose a material master. Suppose your system, another system in your materials team is something related to Java. From there, they enter in their system that this material has been taken, its material number is this, properties are this, mtart is this, everything is given in that form. But now you are expected that your RFC will receive that material from your function module. Okay, cool. You run a job, regular job, and it gets you the tries to get the data, but you don't know whether it has bought that data to your SAP system, it has created the material number, or it has not created. So this question remains intact howsoever you use RFC. For all this, you definitely would have a Z table where you would store that I have called this RFC function module on this time, and what was the link, what was the data in another vendor system. So this all remains a question over here. But when you talk about idocs, this is the answer for those questions. Idocs are a system that remains in your SAP, that yes, you are getting these idocs from another system, and idocs can either succeed or fail. If they fail, then what is the reason why it failed? If it failed, we can reprocess it, we can recreate them, and we can easily make them successful. So that's the whole point why we should have idocs in place, so that we don't have to maintain Z tables for all the things. Everything is provided within the idocs itself. Idocs data is also saved in centralized tables, which we can see and we can use for any further usage. I'll be telling about that going ahead in the session. So there are two kinds of idocs. One can be an inbound idoc and another can be an outbound idoc. Very simple in the terminology. Outbound means when you are sending an information from SAP system to any other system. So the document is triggered from SAP. So this is an outbound, that you are sending an information, or you are sending an, over here the sender is SAP and the receiver can be any of the end. Either it can be SAP system itself, or it can be any other vendor or Java system, or any of the system. On the other hand, inbound idocs are same as I explained as the material master, that there can be any kinds of partner from where you want to put the data into SAP. So the inbound flow, that's the one direction is towards SAP. So that is what is inbound idocs. Going ahead with few of the terminologies for idoc. I hope I'm not fast enough. If yes, please let me know.
No, Shubha, you're in right place.
Okay, thank you so much. Because I'm not able to see my screen. That's why I was just onto this.
It's all
Okay.
right.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Mahesh. Okay, going ahead with few of the terminologies that idoc technology revolves around. When you are talking to anybody, you should be knowing those terminologies. So let's dig on to those terminologies. First one is idoc types and message types. Idoc types and message type both are like, we all, as a technical people, we all know what is domain and what is a data element. So message type is kind of a semantic information about the idoc. It is like a data element that tells you what it is about. Message types actually tell you that this is the, when you are checking an idoc, message type name tells you that this message or this idoc is for either masters, material, mat mass, or it is for purchase order, or it is for delivery. So it is in that format. That message type just helps you to recognize the semanticity of that idoc. Idoc types, on the other hand, goes on to the technical level, where message type and why that message type needs to be used. So idoc types gives you a complete information, what will be the segments in it, what will be the structure of data that you are sending, and what you have to use into it. What data are you sending? So that's between message type and idoc type or basic type, which you can see in the screen. Reiterating, message type is kind of a data element that tells about the message, what it is about. Idoc type is a kind of a technical data domain, which actually lets you know what are its characteristics. IDOC direction. IDOC direction is again the same thing which I just explained. Either it is inbound or it's an outbound direction. So we need to understand that either it's an inbound IDOC or an outbound IDOC. Partners. The term partners refer to the sender and the receiver partners, the sender party and the receiving party, so that it will be easy for us to understand who are the users or who are the senders. So the partner term is actually by understanding that it's a sender person or it's a receiving partner. Partner types. Partner type means they are whether a vendor or it's a logical system, another logical system which you are connecting, or you are connecting from a customer. So this helps us in understanding all these things. So that is the terminology that we should know. Okay, now every IDOC has few things in it. One, it has a control structure that defines its IDOC, its unique identity, the IDOC number, the direction, the status that at currently what is the status of that IDOC, then again the basic type, message type, and all the controlling records that defines what is actually a IDOC. So this control data is saved and is available to view in transaction called WE02, WE05. Any of these transactions can be used. Going on to the technical level, these data can be seen in a table called EDIDC. The primary key is the IDOC number. With that IDOC number, you can get all the information you want in this table. Going ahead, as I explained that there, when you see a IDOC segment, let me try to share my screen with one of the IDOCs. This is the WE02 transaction, which is in which I just managed with any date till now. We can have any of the direction we want to see. We can see a specific IDOC number. We can see with specific status, IDOC types, and logical messages, message types. So we can see any of this data. So here I am just trying to show you that what it is all about. So if I double click this data is the control structure, which is saved in EDIDC. Here we can see that this is the IDOC number, direction, status, and then going ahead, it has the other information that what is the basic type that is being used, what is the message type. In partners, you can see who is the recipient, who is the sender, and similarly some technical information. Generally, I've been working with IDOCs I worked for IDOCs with IDOCs like 6 years approximately. All the time I was in Souk and in Amazon. We had a prime structure on IDOCs itself. Initially, we used to have approximately lakh IDOCs every day, which used to fail. Because it's an e-commerce company, we used to have multiple IDOCs. It used to be a huge turnaround of IDOCs. So we used to deal with 3 to 4 lakhs of IDOCs every day. So we developed an automated solution for that I will discuss later. So basically, you need to understand that only type information and your partner, two things are major that are being used along with IDOC number, direction, and status. These are the three kinds of information which we as an ABAPer require to understand. And all this is available in table called EDIDC. When we go to IDOC display, now here are the data records. If you can see, these fields, these values are called segments. Each segment is having a lot of data into it. So how do we check what is this segment? E1 BP logo ND. This is a segment name which is attached to this IDOC, which is attached internally to this basic IDOC type. When in this IDOC type is attached to this message type. So guys, I don't want to confuse you. I hope you guys can understand the point. Anybody?
Yeah, Shubha.
Uh,
It's
One
clear.
like IDOC so much. I did process it using. Definitely, I will let you know this, Gaurav. You can discuss with me on to this. It used to be it's 1 lakh is very less. When we used to have our sales, it used to go to five lakhs, and I have handled our system. We have handled it in that way, so we can discuss it for sure, Gaurav. That's a good question. Okay, coming back to the segments. So, yeah. So if I want to see, just remember these all are the segment. If I want to say, then I'll just take this screenshot and I'll explain clearly that this is a segment. So how do we check this segment? So to check the segment, you can just note down its name. Go to WE31 E1BP logo. E1BP logo ND. So that's the name. So if you see over here in this screen, if you can see that there are multiple versions of this. So this means that there were some versions onto which in 45A there was a version for this, which was then overwritten by this version, which was overwritten by all the other versions. So currently the version that is active is 03. So if I'll click on display button as in every other transaction of SAP, so we'll find the structure of SAP, what SAP intends to pass through this data. So your IDOC should be fulfilling that these data should be sent. So it can be possible that it can be mandatory data or it cannot be mandatory data. That is seen on another transaction, not in this transaction. So, yeah. So over here, you will get the information about what it is, what is the type, and you can use it for any of the data which you want to enhance or which you want to grasp. So this is what is segment definition. WE31 is the T code, so with which you can check. So there are two T codes, WE31 and WE30. So I generally get confused. Don't make mind for that, please. No, it's WE31 with which you will understand or you will get the complete information about iDocs of a segment. Going to WE30, as we just discussed, WE30 is a very good transaction which helps you understand about this is also it also gives you. So it is about the IDOC types. Over here, you can get the IDOC types. So if I open my IDOC, the IDOC type is user clone 06. This IDOC type, if I provide in my WE31, then WE30, it will give me the details how the IDOC is listed. Is not only the, if we see the our IDOC, this was the IDOC we had. This was the structure of IDOC. But in Other sense, in real life, IDOC has lot many, this IDOC type has lot many data. It depends upon what kind of data you are sending, what is mandatory, what is non-mandatory, because every IDOC will not have all the data into it. It will give you an optional data where you can decide whether what is mandatory, what is not mandatory. While defining message types or IDOC types, you define what is mandatory, what is non-mandatory, while adding any of these segments. So that is what is IDOC types. So going behind, just a small recap. We have message type, that's kind of a semantic data. Then we have IDOC types, that's a technical data. As just shown, WE30 helps you understand what it is. And then going ahead, it will, I showed you the segments, that what are segments. In WE02, how will you be able to check the segment? Going back to our PPT. So this is what you can see in the, what I just showed you. So IDOC has segments and segments have data in it. Now going over here, there's something called parent and child segments. So if you see the IDOC type, you'll see over here, this will become the parent segment, for this will become a child segment. So we all know parent-child connection in SAP, like VBAC header and line items. So similarly over here, these are the data which helps in parent data, and with this reference we can have a multiple address data. So we can have multiple address lines. So this segment can be called multiple times. It can, one IDO can be that this is a one line, but it can have multiple lines in address once. Okay, going ahead, how to activate, or why every system, I would just say, everyone has is working on SAP. System know when the IDOC needs to come in and when the item needs to go out. So the major process over here is called distribution model, that we have to activate, that we have to define, that in these are the system, that who will be the sender, who will be the receiver, and what will be the properties of it. Many times it happens that we have IDOCs, they are coming only for some data. We are not aware why some data is not, we are sending that data, but why that data is not available to us. At that time, this is a point where you can check your BD64 transaction. BD64 helps you in understanding what is your logical way of relating the data. It's called logical systems. So I'll just share BD64 transaction code.
Shubha, BD64 is an ALE model, right, for distribution?
Yes, exactly. So over there, you have to create a model view. With that model view, you will be able to identify what are the records that you want to accept, and what you want to create a model view. See, again, it's MVC structure. Model you have to create telling that these are my sources, this is my destination, and this is the message type. Once a model view is created, then next step you go to partner profile and you define these messages will be received by this. I'm sorry, I didn't get the name. Hello? Who did the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Shubha, me, Prajit here. Sorry, I was on mute.
Hi, Prajit. Okay. So model view is actually enables you to first Okay, so I just created one model view. Over here, you can assign with this model a message type with which you want that to interact with. So I created a model. Let's add a message type to it. So I can assign a sender, a receiver, and a message type to it. Suppose there's a message type called orders. Orders message type was used in Amazon or in Souk for generally for your sales order receiving, but this orders can also be used for purchase order creating. So if I give a sender, I can give a receiver, and I can the details. So I defined that this is these two systems gonna interact over the message type this, and they're gonna work around. Okay, well, the point which I was saying, you can have a filter over here attached. See, over here you can attach a filter for specifically order any of the message type. So this is sometimes a problem that people face generally when going for a troubleshoot or anything in IDOC system. Do check your distribution models for sure with which it is going ahead. Many times what people you do is they create a filter group over here and they add a filtering over here, and because of which it is only taking that data only, and it's not taking any other data. Over here I can say that this vendor should be only of this value, or it should be only of that value. So in that case problem, then this your idocs will be restricted to that. This is a very common question also when you go for any interview saying that you know idocs, and this is a very normal general question which is asked, and why your idocs are only coming for this vendor, not coming for that vendor. So this is one of our prime reasons in model views, distribution model that you can use. Next comes WE20. This transaction code helps us in identify partner profiles. Partner profiles, as I said, that partner types are I showed in the slide as well, that over here partners are defining who is the sending partner, who is the receiving partner. Then comes partner types. Partner types are like, who are you connecting with, a vendor or you connecting with a logical system? Like I created my model view with a logical system only, so I have to define my logical system partners over here. If you want to add any of the partner, suppose you need to add a customer, so you need to create a partner type customer, and you will create a partner profile, and then you will be able to view them in BD64, and then you can connect them. I hope I'm giving a clear points. So in partners profile, it's very important transaction. Partner profile helps us in a lot of things to understand. Like partner profile first tells you what all messages you are allowed, what all inbound, outbound messages you are allowed, what you are not allowed. So your based on this profile only you will be able to create your model views. Similarly over here, okay, so that's one of the major important aspect when going for WE20, when you're defining a partner type. So partner status is active. It is for Outbound, it will go for these two message types. Inbound, if there is any, you can define those partner types over here. Going ahead, after partner profile, so this is a way we can create our extensions. There are two things. One is you have a Z IDOC. Another is you are working on a standard IDOC type like orders, and you want to extend that. So when you want to extend a Z IDOC type or a standard IDOC type, then definitely in the standard tables you need to do the extensions as well, and copying them you will be able to find you can create segments, and with that you can get these segments, and on the segments you can send your data. But similarly you have to find out the function module which is executing that, a BAPI or a function module that is used for that message type execution, for creating an IDOC or creating an document in your SAP system. Over there you need to do extension, or you need to enhance your system, enhance your function module or a BAPI, so that that data can be easily incorporated, or it can be value part 1, value part 2, the way we do for any of the extensions. So that has to be taken care of by an ABAPer itself. So this is the point that I was trying to say, that when you are creating an extension or when you're creating any segment, in the segment you define whether that's a mandatory segment or not, what is the cardinality, what is the minimum number and a maximum number. If your maximum number is huge, then that becomes a child segment, which can be, there can be multiple segments for the same segment name. So these two things determine whether it has to be mandatory. Another, what is the cardinality? So that helps you identify the things. Okay, going ahead with the status of idocs. So the major status for inbound are 03 and 05. After execution, if your IDOC has any issues, it will come out to be 05. That's an error status. But if your IDOCs are properly sent to the receiving partner, it will be 03. These are inbound IDOC statuses. Going back to outbounds have 51, 53, and 64. 64 are the ones where you are waiting for their execution. 53 are the ones which are successful and which have posted application documents successfully in SAP system. 51 are the ones which are still in error. So all these can be seen in WE02, 05, all the transactions. Using WE57, you can find and reprocess the idocs. So the next will be reprocessing of idocs. BD87 is a transaction code that helps you in reprocessing of the idocs. I'll show you. BD87. In this, you can search the idoc in whatever status you want, majorly 51, which are the errors. We need to reprocess majorly all those idocs which are 51 in status. Over here, nothing is in there in my system. So you can just select them and click on a process button. This helps in restarting again the execution of idocs. Similar thing can be done by a program named as RBD Mani2. This will provide you the same program, same thing. So you cannot schedule when you are going through BD87, you cannot schedule a background job for that. But using RBD Manitou, you can schedule a background job for execution with 51 status. Coming back to some technical information based for the idocs. I already explained EDIDC, that's a control structure of the idoc. Then goes EDIDS, that saves all the statuses for one idoc. Suppose we take the idoc number 1. So for this idoc number, if I want to see, if I double click, I can see that there are so many status records. There are 3 statuses onto which it has crossed by. If I want this data to be used in any of my coding program or any of my ABAP program, any program, how will I get this? You can get that through EDIDS. You just need to provide your of number and you'll get all the data. So it will show you what all statuses. It will be same as you are seeing in WE02 or WE05. Guys, it's very much like you guys are being very quiet. Any question, anything. Filtering of this. Yes, definitely, Sonal. I was talking about that only, that you can filter. Sometimes you can add filters, add your model view itself. So that is a quick question that generally comes up. Thank you, Gaurav. But it's a bit silence from that side. So I am feeling as if I am just speaking, and speaking. Am I able to give my details or not? I tried my level best, and I'm waiting from Praveen that yes, some Nadeem and Praveen, they would be jumping in with some questions, but nobody is coming up.
Yeah, I will jump on later on. I want that you just complete your part so that later on I will add something which is really useful. And I can say these things which you are explaining, these are very basic, and there are still a lot of things like you explained W20, and but in real time how this integration comes to the PO or order, how this get interacted with NAS settings, how we assign the output type, and how this in real time this integration happens. I will explain that. Just complete your part. I will try to help you there
Okay.
at the end.
Yes, exactly, Gaurav, you're right. Exactly,
Praveen.
I'm going to explain that. Uh, your question is correct, Pradipta, that yes, we need to, how do we debug, or when we are reprocessing, is there a way we can debug? Yes, there are many ways with which we can debug. IDOCs are, that's the beauty of IDOC. You go to transaction code WE19. This is a testing tool for IDOC. You give your IDOC number over here, which was an error. You'll get the details about it over here as well. The inbound function module, it gives details about what kind of function module is being used. And with that, you can execute and then you can understand that yes, you can debug, you can put debugger points onto that place, and then you will be able to understand that. If you'll click on, suppose, generally it gives over here in foreground, if it has simply some transaction, what we call it as Bapi buddy. No, if we have something like LSMW and we have defined, it can be, then we'll call it in foreground. Then it will be easier for us to understand. Otherwise, we can call it in debugging mode. And when we execute it, it will help us in understanding what is the message type, what is the message type that what is the function module that is being used. and then we can debug that through it. We can do any of the editing in WE19 for any of the data, and then that will be executed with that data. That helps you understand what it is. So that's the show. So yes, Mr. Gaurav, you can go ahead and you can give the points. So that was my presentation. Requisite to add breakpoint in function module. Yes, you definitely, Gaurav, you're right. You can add a breakpoint or you can call it in debugging mode through WE19, with which you will be able to trigger the points.
It was a nice presentation, Shubha. Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice, very nice presentation, Shubha. Even I have one question. It's like, I'm not that familiar with IDOC, but if you use, say, SAP's SOAP service, it gives you a web service definition, WSDL file, which will describe about all the fields and functions which the service has. So is for OData, which will give you a metadata, which is kind of a descriptor of the service we are exposing. Like that for the IDOC, if I'm talking about inbound, where the event is happening outside SAP, which needs to post an IDOC in the system, in the SAP system. How the third party will come to know, okay, this IDOC is having these many fields, and this is the way I must be, I in the sense the third party must be calling the or posting the IDOC in the SAP system. Does IDOC give kind of a descriptor, or it is the third party system's programmer's discretion to write the way the IDOCs must be posted?
Good question, Shri. But honestly speaking, it's not the third party that has the honors that they can do whatever they want. It's only using edifact tables with which the structure is already defined. That structure, the technical person would give to a functional that these are the things. These data should be mandatory pass. This is the list. This is the segment defined. These are the names of columns with which you need to pass this kind of data, and then only you will be able to get that IDOC.
Okay, I understand. So basically, it's not there are what to say that platform does not provide a setup to expose the structure, but we ourselves have to hand over the structure to the vendor who is posting the data
Yes.
and instruct him that this is a structure, give me the data in this structure, kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, I understand. Okay, makes sense.
Suppose we were taking a use case, we were interacting with HSBC, as I said, HSBC Saudi. So at that time, they provided us that this is the data that you need to provide us with your IDOCs in these segments so that we will be able to create a communication successfully. So that's the
Understand.
general practice that we have to do with IDOCs.
Okay. Okay, understand. Okay, nice one. Yep. One more question regarding this inbound again. That a third party, especially say in this case HSBC, is posting certain data to our production system. So is it always to the ECC or S4HANA? Is it always the ERP system in between, or towards the ERP system, or is there the involvement of PA also? Or it is always this ERP system must be exposed, or PA can also be used?
It's a way you decide your architecture. The external system can send an IDOC or send a XML message to your PI system, and at your PI system it triggers to convert it into the XML statement, XML data to the IDOC and post the IDOC in SAP.
Okay, okay, understand. Okay,
So
okay,
XML
got it, Shubha.
conversion needs to be there.
Okay, got it, got it. So the interchange is happening in terms of XML document. Okay, perfect, got it.
Correct. Nadeem, yes,
Okay,
please. You can ask your question.
Yeah, firstly, Shubha, I'm really thankful to you. It requires a lot of courage to actually give any session on IDOC, which is very traditional. Now that SAP technology has evolved so much, nobody is actually interested in taking IDOC sessions because they feel very much left over. But you know, right, there are still companies where IDOC requirements are coming on, and I such had one such requirement where I connected with you get some knowledge for developing IDOC interfaces, customized IDOC routines, and really it was good session. Secondly, one more thing just want to know is this is the IDOC interfaces which has been developed processing large data with like you say like 1 lakh um, IDOC
iDocs.
messages in a minute, in one day or something is very huge. So what approach I feel was like how is IDOC better than proxies?
Okay. iDoc
Because
is
proxies
again better
directly.
because you have lots of data intact in your system. You can reprocess it as many times as you think. Even after 5 days, you can say, I want to reprocess this iDoc. You have that data. If you'll not have using proxies, you will not have that data or the list with what is successful, what is not successful. That is how we use iDocs majorly for reprocessing. That's why I was explaining about WE19 BD87, with which you can reprocess your iDocs and reduce your count. RBD Mani 2 is a program with which you can schedule it in background, might be a 4 hour or per day basis, and it will help you go ahead to
Okay,
reduce your system.
but performance wise, you'd think it is better, proxy or
I still
IDOC?
feel no. I still feel iDocs are much better. They
Okay.
gives
Yes.
power to you yourself itself to understand what is happening in your system, what data is created, what data is not created.
Okay, and what is
Proxies
that
again,
RBD again? RBD
RBD
again, there is
Mani
another
2. That's a
RBD
program.
again. RBD again, there is another program, right?
Might be Nadeem. We'll discuss on this. I didn't get
Okay.
your question.
Okay, fine, sure. Thanks,
Yes,
Shubha.
Hitesh. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, Hitesh, please tell me.
Yeah, thank you for the wonderful session. I actually not related to this session, but recently I was working one LSMW. There I faced one issue that after doing IDOC processing, the system says no data is available. But when I check in WE05, the IDOC is getting processed, but that is not shown in the system. So might be am I missing any step or anything?
Yes, for sure. We can connect onto this, but LSMW for iDoc is very difficult. So instead of
Yeah.
going through LSMW, go via RBD Mani 2. It will solve your problem.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Yes, Mr. Gaurav, you wanted to add some points before we end this session and Mr. Mahesh can take over. Hello,
So,
Gaurav.
Nadeem, just to answer that question which you asked Shubha, which is a better performance? iDocs are basically, what is the thing is that it is again a standard configured SAP. It's a configurable steps which you need to follow to replicate some data or integrate data with some third-party system or SAP system. If you think about performance basis at the moment, OData, there are many integration techniques which or replication techniques which you can use. Something like OData, something like iDocs. You can use web services. So they follow different architectures and different protocols. So since SAP has already provided this technique, companies are still using it because already it comes as part of your licensing cost. So it's again an integration, and also the advantage is that you have a huge load. So let's say you're processing 1,000 or like 1 lakh deliveries at a time, or something like, maybe some shipments. You are having shipments. In each shipment, you have around 1 million kind of deliveries happening for each shipment. So those kind of data, when you want to replicate or you want to integrate with some third-party system, you can use it. So integration being a key factor in any ERP solution, the best is to go with the standard approach. That's why iDocs are even much in demand. So with the no data and other things, the architecture is different. It's more like a request response kind of a model, TCP/IP protocol, where you request for some data and then you get a response in a data. So makes a synchronous call and it's much faster. So every technique has its own benefits and disadvantages, but yeah, so that is one of the things why iDocs are even more popular today.
But Prajit, do you know that SAP is recommending SOAP-based services in S4HANA cloud integration with CP or anywhere?
Yeah,
Does any-
so yes, Mahesh, this is the point which I want to say. This is Praveen. This is actually I'm currently working on Ariba implementation, and in the Ariba, so SAP, I'm working with SAP America the team. So their options are both. Your Odata is also not Odata. Web service is also there, and IDOC is there, but they're preferring web service, not IDOC.
The reason, Praveen, I'll tell you. The thing is that when you are in Ariba, they have something called a CLI adapter. You
Yes.
must be working on that.
Mm-hmm.
So CLI adapter follows a SOAP protocol. That is why they are using the SOAP architecture over there. It's very subjective to what is your
Test
project,
case.
the use case
No, but
and the business
in that
requirement.
they are using that IDOC also for, I can say, for the orders they are using IDOC, but for ASN or for order confirmation they are using web service.
Web service, yes. So the thing is that when you are using for an order fulfillment or anything like that, they are using idocs because your orders can be a huge number of see in the real time system. You will not say that you will create only one order. Order
Mhm.
will come in millions of records. I personally remember, like, for at the moment I'm in talks with Etisalat. So Etisalat, you wouldn't believe the volume. In 1 minute they have around 15,000. That is just like an average, they say. Like it'll be like 15
That's an
million records
average,
which come in.
yes.
So
Yes.
you you
When I
you
was in Souk, we used to handle these level of data. If it's Souk has a big sale called White Friday. Even on small days, even when we had this lockdown started, people started ordering from online. Even the grocery was getting online. So we had huge and tremendous shift of data size. So that's what it is about. So it is basically your use case which determines what, as projects correctly referred, that or taking orders and sending the what we called as acknowledgements that yes, your thing is correct, but you need to divide your system, you need to do a distributed kind of platform statement. So in taking inbound IDOC is much better than sending outbound with the confirmation, because it will both will occupy your recipe system's memory. So it's good that they are taking one part from SAP, another part from the other. Right?
exactly. And also, frameworks like MDG. I don't know if you guys are aware. There's
Yes,
something called
yes,
master data governance. So even that framework
governments.
entirely, they use idocs only for replication. So they have something like a staging area where they create the master data, the first entry into the system. So once your system is set up, everything is set up, your master data, which is a clean data, is again run by this framework. Even that framework, they are now they use idocs for replicating to different servers so that your data is clean and it's replicated successfully. So yeah, this is why we
IDOCs
use idocs.
cannot be like completely used, but yes, you should know what IDOCs is, and that's what our aim was.
Definitely.
Yes, Suresh, you want to say something?
Oh yeah, just wanted to add up something. It's a good discussion which is happening out, whether it is IDOC or so. I heard the comment about the Ariba one, whatever you guys are talking. Yeah, it's right. Order confirmation and ASN, which is coming inbound to SAP, they have made it as a web service. But predominantly, if you look out, anything from S4 or SAP back to Ariba, it will be always the IDOC. That is the preference in the new cloud integration gateway. I would give a classic example why they prefer to have IDOC. The reason is it is a traditional way of defining the output type, and they have defined to send it as an IDOC. So that is the reason, why they are developing on the IDOC part towards it. When SAP moves towards the web services or whatever you are telling, the proxy one, probably once that is a part of standard output type, probably it would be preferred. Say right now, if we wanted to do any kind of proxy outbound from S4 to Ariba, it is just like a manual talk. Someone need to develop internally with their ABAPs. But at the same time, if you look out the orders 05 IDOC, which is already a standard which is provided by SAP, which is just like a enrichment which they have the orders 05 IDOC. They made it as Ariba CAG orders 05 IDOC. So it all depends upon the architectural decision. Even though if you look at some companies, they would tell that with new implementation they are telling they don't want to have any IDOC. Even though we offer to provide a standard IDOC order 05, they're telling no, it's not. We don't need it. You just build a custom one. We keep it very light so that the exchange could be it will not blocking the messages. I just wanted to add up some kind of information towards it. There are certain licenses for CPA and all. It is, when you're communicating to the external third parties, it all based upon the message size. For example, if it goes beyond 250 KB, they will consider as 2 messages. For example, if you're sending 1 MB message, they consider as 4 messages. Normally the licenses cost is based upon the total number of messages. Probably they might be having somewhere around 250,000 messages. So it all depends upon that kind of concept. So it's typically an architectural decision, but it's a good discussion which has happened over here. Yeah, and Shubha, it's really good to see the presentation what you have done. Which normally people doesn't talk about it much. Yeah, but it's a traditional IDOC one. It's a good one. Thank you.